Honored to be joined by Pittsburgh Post-Gazette Steelers beat writer Brian Batko. Brian, how's it going, man?
I'm doing great, Brian. How are you?
I'm great. It's fantastic to have you on here because you are covering the hottest team, for better and worse, in the NFL. Normally, I would not associate Mason Rudolph with being the quarterback of the hottest team in the NFL, but that is how it goes with the Pittsburgh Steelers right now. You've been out there. You know this team. You know the fan base. You know the city. You know what's going on. What's it like with the Steelers right now? Because they cannot stay out of the news, even though they're not doing anything. And as we record this, they haven't signed Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, Brian, I think this Aaron Rodgers saga that has really gone on now since, basically the first week of free agency, when it became clear that their two options from last year, Russell Wilson and Justin Fields, were heading elsewhere. Since then, they've really been hitched to Rodgers. And, you do the math, and I guess it's coming on almost 3 months at this point. So it's a very odd situation to be in, where a player who's not even on your team, not on any NFL roster, is sort of this sideshow running parallel to everything the other 88 or 89 guys are doing now at OTAs on the south side of Pittsburgh.
I've covered a lot of NFL. I've covered dysfunctional teams. I've covered teams that won 12 games and won playoff games and won their division. The NFL, I feel like more than anything, it's you're all in. It's next man up. It's all those cliches. It's about the locker room. It's about sacrifice. You have to get the buy-in. I think of a Mike Tomlin team. This has nothing to do with a Mike Tomlin team. This I'm not sure that I've seen a situation like this, but obviously they're interested in Rodgers. They're waiting for him to say yes, according to every report that's out there. And there is a way that this works out, and it's a really good defense, and you get a Hall of Fame quarterback, and Aaron Rodgers wants to prove everybody wrong, and he does it with one of the best fan bases in the NFL. But how does this work? And when do you think there'll be a resolution?
Yeah, I think you framed that pretty well, because, I've been critical of this pursuit pretty much at every step of the way. I thought this was essentially bringing on another distraction that you don't necessarily need, and that the juice probably isn't worth the squeeze based on the Rodgers that we saw the last couple years. Obviously 2023 barely saw him because of the torn Achilles, but I just think at age 41, he's not, he can still play. He's still got a good arm. He can still make all the throws. He's still going to, command the line of scrimmage and play the above the net game better than maybe any quarterback in the league right now. But he's not the player that he once was. So I don't think it's worth holding up your entire offseason plan on the whims of one man. And yeah, I think as coaches, they always tell players, control what you can control. As an organization, you can't control how guys are going to go out and execute on Sundays. You can't control whether your quarterback's going to hit that 15-yard out route or your left tackle is going to keep that pass rusher out of the pocket. In this case, you can control the narrative of your offseason and how you're operating as an organization and the standards and deadlines and boundaries that you set for guys to join your team. And it is a little bizarre to me that they've let this one get out of the barn the way that it has. But I think Mike Tomlin sees it as, hey, it's all about what he can do to help us on the field. And when he gets here, he'll be the best option for us at that position.
Who's driving this? Sometimes it would be the general manager, it would be the owner. The Steelers are known for consistency. They're, sticking by the same coach, not changing things. They can be run first, they could be defense first. They're not, even Ben Roethlisberger, and he had off the field issues, but Ben Roethlisberger wasn't so much a diva. And when they've had divas, George Pickens, Antonio Brown, Mike Tomlin's gotten rid of them. They're on the verge of signing maybe the biggest diva in the NFL. Who is pushing this? Who's saying no? We're just going to wait till Rodgers says yes because we have to have Aaron Rodgers.
Well, one thing that this organization's been good at for years, decades, is presenting a united front. When Kevin Colbert was in that GM chair, it was the same way. When Art Rooney II's father, Dan Rooney, was the team president, it was the same way. So it's never been a situation where there's a lot of palace intrigue, because they're pretty buttoned up that way. But there's got to be internal disagreements from time to time. And I think one thing about the Steelers, going back to those other coaches you mentioned, Chuck Noll way back when, Bill Cowher, the only guy in between Chuck Noll and Mike Tomlin, it's always been a pretty coach-centric organization. And, the owner trusts the coach with a lot. The GM is more of the, behind the scenes hand that, I think you look at some teams where the GM buys all the ingredients and tells the coach to make the stew. I think with the Steelers, the coach is buying the ingredients too. He just wants the GM there to make sure they're getting the best deals and discounts at the supermarket. So I do think that Mike Tomlin is running point on this. And I think their general manager, Omar Khan, his job right now is more about setting up this team for the long term to be a good plug-and-play situation for the next quarterback, regardless of how things play out, good or bad, with Aaron Rodgers.
There have been reports that, and Aaron's talked about this a little, that he's got some stuff going on in his personal life. There's been no clarity on that. There have been hints. What are you hearing? What do you think is holding this up? And when does he say that he's going to sign with the Steelers, if it's going to happen?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of an unassailable approach to take for Rodgers or any player when you invoke those personal issues, because you're right. I mean, that's his business. It's his own privacy that we all should respect from the outside. So it's difficult to really criticize or scrutinize what he is dealing with. And he is under no obligation to be there for a team that he has not signed with. That's again what makes it such a weird situation, which we talked about from the jump here. But I think with him, you are starting to see him out at some of these events, the Kentucky Derby, a concert. He's on the Joe Rogan podcast, so he's taking time out of his day to do that. That's when I think the fans are starting to get a little bit skeptical of that rationalization. Plus, I mean, every player in the NFL is dealing with stuff that you don't know about behind the scenes. You still have to compartmentalize that and what you're doing from a football standpoint. So I think Aaron Rodgers is wearing thin on a lot of readers and viewers of the Post-Gazette, at least, and other places around town. And I think there's naturally going to be skepticism of just he wants to skip this portion of the offseason, the optional stuff, and he'll show up when he's good and ready.
But shouldn't, if he is all in and he wants to win a Super Bowl, and Mike Tomlin's going to bet maybe the end of his career with the Steelers and Aaron Rodgers, shouldn't Aaron? I understand Aaron Rodgers is a genius and he's one of the greatest of all time and he's done it all before, but he does have to learn a new system. He doesn't have great wide receivers right now. The offense wasn't incredible last year. They've had so much change. Shouldn't he be there right now if he was going to sign with his team?
Or any team. Yeah, that's the paradox of this whole deal is, you're right, he has been around long enough to know how invaluable these spring reps are for getting on the same page with guys. And he's a quarterback who, I mean, some of the biggest headlines that have come out of him with the Jets and even the Packers toward the tail end was about getting the timing right. Why he sort of wants his guys with him a lot. Randall Cobb.
If the timing's off, he will blame his receiver in the post-game press conference immediately and let you know that he was supposed to end up on the red line or whatever it is, and it's the wide receiver's fault because the timing is off.
Yeah, because he's trying to throw a no look to Mike Williams at the end of a game, and then it gets picked off. So, yeah, I mean, I think logically, yes, it would stand to reason that right now, late May, early June is when you're getting ample and extra time to rep all of that. But again, he's not here. So maybe that makes some people who are trying to do the same thing as you and I speculate that, okay, maybe he's considering retirement more legitimately than we think. I don't believe that most Steelers insiders feel that way. I think because of some of the public comments by team president Art Rooney II about they'll wait a little bit while longer and that it's looking that way and a strong feeling about it, sure makes you think that they are very confident in this getting done eventually. But once again, it has loomed over a bunch of other guys who probably are sick of getting questions from their own friends and family about who their quarterback's going to be in 25.
A couple more Rodgers real quick. Is there a drop dead date? I mean, is there a time when he has to sign?
I mean, I guess no, but I think training camp certainly would be kind of the absolute finish line for when you need to start installing this stuff and going through padded practices. And some people are even throwing out almost tongue in cheek, well, they'll wait till week one. That that's not realistic. That doesn't make sense. But the more you keep moving the goalpost back, outlandish things like that do seem less outlandish. It's like, hey, they've got a bye week in week 5 after they come back from Dublin. Maybe he can get 10 extra days to get up to speed if he signs then.
He wants to debut in Dublin. I love you heard it here.
There have been all kinds of theories like that. There have been theories by people saying he's waiting till after the NFL schedule release to avoid more primetime attention.
Well, it's the national outlet that has done now 1,000 Aaron Rodgers stories in the last 3 months. But yeah, I mean, literally blog after blog that Aaron Rodgers is waiting for the schedule release, and boy, was that wrong! Like they are often wrong. Anyways. Do you think there are any players or coaches? Is there anyone who's just tired of this and wants to move on and just say, hey, it's Mason Rudolph or bust, or let's go get Kirk Cousins?
Yeah, I mean, well, I don't know about going the Kirk Cousins route, because I think the difference there is Aaron Rodgers still has some gas left in the tank. Yeah. Is it worth putting up with all the other stuff? That's a whole other calculation. But I think Kirk Cousins might just be cooked. To the point that you don't even start having those next level conversations. But to answer your question, I think, the NFL is a fraternity. It is a brotherhood. These guys are always going to have each other's backs publicly for the most part. It's an us against them sort of mentality, but they are human beings too at the end of the day. And they, most of them on this team have never played with Aaron Rodgers. There's a few guys who have, but so that means they've probably got their own preconceived notions. I mean, they've seen the same tabloidy headlines as those of us who aren't in the NFL have seen, and probably have opinions about him one way or another. So yeah, I'm sure there are some guys in there rolling their eyes at how this is all going and the optics of it. And, I did think it was interesting. Mike Tomlin's not one of the more media friendly coaches in the NFL, especially now that he's the longest tenured coach in the NFL. Maybe not quite as grumpy as Bill Belichick at the end, but I'm pretty sure he talked to us on the first day of OTAs last year. He did not do any sort of press briefing on the first day of OTAs Tuesday. So maybe he's even kind of sick of talking about this.
All right. Last one to respect your time, because I know it is busy. There's a lot going on and he could sign at any point. But this, I'm sure you could spend 20 minutes on this, but what the heck happened with George Pickens in Pittsburgh from an insider's viewpoint? And has he all of a sudden had an epiphany and he's going to be Dak Prescott's best friend and he's going to be perfect with CeeDee Lamb and the Cowboys? Or is he just putting on a show because he could do that at times and George Pickens is never going to be right in the NFL? How do you think it works out for him?
Probably somewhere in the middle of that. I don't think that there was an epiphany. I think there is a legitimate, refreshing change of pace for him, just because of the weight of all this, most of them self-inflicted, headaches that he caused in Pittsburgh, or headaches that he had to deal with in Pittsburgh. And that naturally engendered a lot of negativity from the fan base as well. I'm sure he was wearing out his welcome on people here, both inside and outside the building to some extent. So now he goes to a place where, it's a different city, a bigger city. You're playing in beautiful Jerry World instead of, gritty and grimy Acrisure Stadium. In half of your games, you're in a more pass-happy offense. So, I think he will be happier. But the question I have about George Pickens is just, will that happiness remain when you are getting closer to becoming an unrestricted free agent? If your numbers aren't where you want them to be, and if you're getting shadow coverage from a Marshawn Lattimore or somebody like that twice a year, and it's difficult to get your targets and catches, we will find out.
The big last question, I have no idea if you're a fan or not. We have not talked about it, but Pearl Jam was just in Pittsburgh for 2 big shows. Did you happen to go, or did you notice that they were in the city?
I did not go. I'm a casual Pearl Jam fan. I'll tap along if it comes on at the bar or something. But no, not enough of a super fan to brave the crowds. But certainly a lot of people did, and it seems like that was a pretty big deal for the city with them wrapping up their tour here.
That's super cool. All right, Brian, where can they find you on social media, Twitter, anything you want to get out there and plug? Have at it.
Yeah, post-gazette.com/Steelers, I think will take you to our landing page with all of our content there. Post Gazette Sports YouTube channel if you like hearing me talk about the Steelers. And then on Twitter, X, whatever, just my name, Brian Batko. I'm on there as well.
Thank you so much for helping us out. Enjoy the Aaron Rodgers show, and hello from London. And hopefully we can talk to you maybe for Dublin. When Aaron Rodgers debuts in Dublin, we can do a follow up.
Or maybe he'll debut Sunday Night Football against the Packers in Pittsburgh. Who knows?
Oh my God, that would be good.
All right,
Brian. I really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Yep, appreciate you having me on, Brian. See you.